Well, I did mention this in one of my earlier videos. I have this crowbar. This is a Stanley Fat Max. You can't even tell what it is anymore. But it's, as you can see there, I busted an ear off of it. Try to get that in so you can see the grain structure. Looks like a nice tight grain. I mean, this bar easily is 20 years old. And I've been using it around the job site forever. I remember it was a Stanley. I've seen them on the shelves with a bright yellow paint. This one barely has any bright yellow paint left. But it's a good shape. It's got a nice hook. I use it for moving machinery around, and occasionally I'll strip a crate down with it, you know, bust up a skid or open a big crate or something. But, you know, I snapped that one ear off. I was probably abusing it. Guaranteed I was abusing it. I was imposing my will on some 10 gauge metal to get it tacked up. And boom, just snapped one ear. There was a little tiny groove, a little tiny channel, and I could only get one ear down in there. I was prying it, and we were doing some tack welding on it. So I was definitely abusing it. And, you know, I threw it up on Instagram. I just said, goodbye, old friend, because this is a good shape. I'm happy with this bar. This is, I think, a 36 inch. And, you know, I've ground the tip of the flat end over here at an angle that I want for getting under machinery and picking it up enough to get a little wedge under there and getting it started. So mainly machinery moving, a little bit of crate opening, but one of my favorite shapes of bars. And I threw it up on Instagram. Goodbye, old friends. Hate to see you go, all that stuff. And someone, I forgot who it was, said, hey, send a picture of that to Stanley. See what they say. It's a Stanley Fat Max. So I sent a picture to Stanley. They said, hey, give us a part number. So I actually had to look up the part number to find for this size bar. But not even a week later, that showed up in the mail, which is pretty much the same size. It looks to be, it's got the same swage marks in it here. It looks to be manufactured about the same. I hope it's got the same steel in it, because this thing has been outstanding. But that's a 36 inch Stanley Fat Max. They sent it to me free of charge, shipping included. Just sent it. And this is made in, where is it made in? I'm guessing it's going to be, no, made in Mexico. Okay, it's not made in China. But good on you, Stanley. It was awful nice of you to send me the bar. And these aren't terribly expensive, you know, but all it cost me was an email. And they replaced a bar that had been in service with me for over 20 years. And you can even see the head has been bent. This head has been bent from me reefing on it, because this started off flat. So, yeah, but it stayed put after it bent. So far, it kind of stayed put. So it's been a good bar, and I recommend this bar for anyone that's moving any kind of machinery. If you just need to pick it up just a little bit to slip either a wood wedge under it or a steel wedge under it. Steel wedges slide, wood wedges don't. So it depends on what you want to do. But that's, I just wanted to acknowledge Stanley for stepping up and sending me a new bar, and gives me hope for the future. All right, thanks. Well, as long as we're at it, you know, I did mention steel wedges and wood wedges. Thought I'd show you what I use to move machinery around. I keep a bunch of these. That's a pair of wooden wedges. That's just a 2x4 cut diagonal. And you can use them in pairs as kind of an adjustable parallel to block something up. Or you can use them just by themselves after you've pried up a machine. Get under it with a crowbar, pry it up a little bit and slip your wedge under there, get another bite with your crowbar, just work that wedge in, and there's not much worry about it slipping because of the soft wood. And I just use junk 2x4s, and I make these in pairs. I keep at least 30 pair in a milk crate. So that's what I call a wood wedge, and we use those when we don't want the piece to move. These are steel wedges. That's an '01 tool steel that I hardened, and I made these, God, probably 20 years ago. And you can see they've been beat to hell. on the ends from driving them under equipment. But we keep them ground on the tip to get under machinery. If you can get this tip under your machine, if you can just get it just under your machine or your lathe, a mill, a air handler, any big piece of equipment, just get it started, and then you can drive it in. You get a little bit of lift. It's nice and slippery. It'll slide in very easily. And if you want to get a machine up on a pair of these, and let's say you wanted to move it back, you get it two of these under your machine, maybe get them in an inch or two, and then get two guys with crowbars in on the end, and just pry it in, and it slips on these very nicely, and the machine will just slide in, and you can get your your pump or your machine or whatever you're moving, you can get it aligned and in place pretty easily with a steel wedge. A wooden wedge if you don't want it to move, steel wedge if you do want it to move. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. But after you start using them, they're a wonderful thing. I keep 4 of the steel wedges in the trailer at all times, and I keep a whole box of these in there all the time. And I'll show you a couple other things I keep handy for moving stuff around. Okay, there's a couple other things that we use in conjunction with the bars and the wedges. First of all, if you don't have far to go, that's a piece of cold roll, 3/4 inch cold roll, and I keep about 10 of them in my milk crate along with my wedges. As you can see, the back of that wedge is quite a bit higher than that roller. So if I pry, and if we're getting under a machine, pry it up, slip this under, pry it up, slip this under, pry it up, slip this under. Keep going, get that machine up high enough where you can slip your rollers in, then just back it out, pry it up, slip it out, pry it up, slip it out, until we're down on a nice roller, and maybe we need to only roll it a couple of feet. That's the way to go. So it worked for the ancient Egyptians, works fine for Bar Z. If you got kind of a ways to go, or you got to change directions, this is the tool for that. It's called a Hillman roller. As you can see, they've been beat to hell, but it uses kind of a needle bearing roller, kind of on a tank track. And I swear, the heavier it is, the easier it moves. She'll take 10,000 pounds, but it won't roll over a tie wrap or a piece of gravel. So you got to be careful. You got to keep your floor clean. Watch the bumps in the floor. As you're moving these slots right here, there's a handle that goes on each one with a hook, and you hook it in there and use that to change directions. You got a swivel pad right here, and this stays with the machine pretty good, but you still need to steer them. If you've got 2 of these and maybe they're towed out or towed in, your machine's going to get kind of wonky. So these need constant attention, but you can change directions with them very easily. If you're moving a machine over, get in there with your handle, turn them things 90 degrees and get it going the other way or whatever. Be careful with these, but it's slow and steady wins the race with these things. But Hillman rollers are a wonderful thing, but just some 3/4 inch round bar is a wonderful thing too. Old tricks are the best tricks. I've learned to move a lot of really heavy stuff around with just the simplest of tools. An assortment of crowbars, which I already demonstrated. One of my favorites is that yellow bar, and just some wood wedges that you can make up very easily. And we just make these up out of skids and crates and stuff, because these are always getting damaged. You throw them around, you use them for driving a I-beam or something to weld next to, and you end up burning one up, whatever. They get torn up at the job site. But always make sure you got plenty of wood wedges around, and then keep your steel wedges nice, keep your front edges ground clean, and it'll serve you well moving machinery around. All right, those are tips from I guess a 30+ year millwright. And in closing, we've already determined that this bar is made out of some wonderful steel. If any of you blacksmith folks have any interest in this bar, I'll give it to you. If you want to heat it up, melt it down, reform it, reshape it, it makes a hell of a sword or knife or whatever. It would make a pretty good tool if you want to reshape it. But I'll offer that up if any of you guys, any of you blacksmith type folks out there want to have a crack at reshaping that crowbar and you making something else out of it. Again, thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed.